The biggest thing is that no matter where you end up going, you're gonna find your people. It is not life and death. I promise you, it is such an intimidating thought, but life and death is not relevant when it comes to college applications. You will find yourself wherever you end up going, whether it's your dream school or the bottom of the list. You'll find your place.
Hello, my name is Ontario Dooley. My pronouns are he, him. I'm here with a group of student panelists from the University of Denver. Excited to be here so that they can share some of their experiences and we can have a conversation about the path to college and what college is like. I serve as the Program and Recruitment Coordinator for Leadership Studies here at the University of Denver. I myself am also an alum of the University of Denver with a bachelor's in political science. So, with that introduction for myself out the way, I would love to pass it to our first student, Ethan, to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you. If you can say your name, what year in school you are, what you study, and your pronouns, that would be great. And then we'll go ahead and pass it to the next student after you.
Hey, yeah, thanks, Ontario. So I am Ethan Turner, he, him. I am studying finance with a minor in leadership, minor in leadership studies. I am a junior here at the University of Denver, and I'm originally from Colorado. So, yeah, I guess I can pass it to Rihanna.
Thanks. Hi, I'm Rihanna. I use she, her pronouns. I'm also a third year at the University of Denver. I'm a theater and Spanish language and culture double major. And I'm also in the leadership studies program, although a different subsect of the leadership program than Ethan and Aya are. Um, and I have a couple other minors as well. And I am from Pennsylvania, so not a Colorado native. And I'll pass it to Aya.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Aya. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a second year here at DU. I'm also part of the PLP program here. I'm majoring in international studies and socio-legal studies with a couple of minors in Middle Eastern studies and leadership. And I'm also a Colorado native like Ethan. I'm from the Denver metro area. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, excellent. So we'll dive right in, and our goal is to have kind of an organic conversation. And so we have some questions, but we'll see where the conversation flows and definitely be open to sharing based on what your fellow panelists share. I think we'll start with one of the biggest questions is what influenced your decision to go to college? And so, please go ahead and whoever wants to take that question on first, please start.
I can go. I I'm a first generation student. So in a bit of a non-typical circumstances. So I was planning on going to college. Um, for most of my high school career. I wasn't exactly sure what that was going to look like in terms of staying near home or what I was planning on going for exactly. Like I mentioned a couple minutes ago, I'm in an arts program, so sometimes those are not always encouraged as much. In pursuing higher education for arts programs, but I was really influenced by a lot of my high school teachers, and my family was really supportive, just being a first generation student and having the opportunity to go, and just being really fortunate in my case. And yeah, so I was lucky to have people who were supportive in me pursuing the arts, and thought that going to college was a good next step for that.
Thank you, Ethan. Aya, do you want to share as well?
Sure. Yeah. So it was um both of my parents went to college, and so it was always kind of expected of me to go to college. My parents said the only option I didn't have when going to college was to not go. And I am very lucky in that sense, and I'm very grateful to have been in those circumstances. But yeah, it was always expected of me, but also intrinsically, I always wanted to go to college, both for the pursuit of knowledge and the pursuit of community. Um, College is a community unlike any other experience in your life, and I think that there's tremendous value in that. So that was a big driver for me.
Thank you, Ethan. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next question because I know we can cover each of these questions for days, but I really want to get to some of the other questions. And so this is going to be a two-part question for everyone. The first part is, what was applying to college like for you? And is there anything after you went through the college application and acceptance process that you wish you would have known when you started?
Yeah, I definitely have some passionate feelings about this. So I'm actually for high school, I'm a DSST alum. Which one of the biggest core values of DSST is college readiness and college preparedness. And so they have a very thorough and intense team of college counselors, which really influenced kind of honing in my college selection process. I was really, really, really convinced I was going to end up out of state. But after, a bunch of counseling sessions and advising and applications and tours, I decided on DU mainly because of one, the community. I was able to build my network through going to a local school. And two, financial aid was a really big part of my college decision, and DU offered really tremendous financial aid for me. And the things I kind of wish before I applied to college, the biggest thing is that no matter where you end up going, you're gonna find your people. It is not life and death. I promise you, it is such an intimidating thought, but life and death is not relevant when it comes to college applications. You will find yourself wherever you end up going, whether it's your dream school or the bottom of the list. You'll find your place.
Yeah, I would just add to that, that it feels like a very group effort type of thing when everybody is like going through the process. I went to a pretty small high school, and so it was very easy. Like I knew where most of my classmates were applying, or like I knew when people were getting in, or if like if things were going well or not. And sometimes that's really great to like commiserate together. But sometimes you have to remember that it is an individual process as well. Um, just like a lot of things in college are, you kind of have to find that balance of not comparing like your experiences or your hopes and goals to other people's because they're going to look different, and letting people influence that choice too much can, like Aya said, like it's not life and death, and you know yourself better than anybody. So trying to maintain that balance, I think probably would have helped if I remembered that a little bit more along the way.
Yeah, I think kind of to less answer Ontario's question and more to the community piece, I didn't really find my community my freshman year, to be totally honest. And that was for a number of reasons. But my sophomore year, I came back after summer and I was like, okay, I'm just going to be as involved as possible. I'm going to sign up for a bunch of things, and I'm going to recognize that sometimes those things aren't going to be what I want to do, but I'm just going to push myself. And doing that, I almost instantly found numerous people that I uh, call greater friends than I called any of my friends in high school, which is like both good and bad. But that was really wonderful. And I think that it's really easy to get into the mindset of that people in high school are kind of already in their friend groups and you are going to be limited, but almost everyone in college is constantly looking to make new friends. And I think that's really easy to forget, but something I have to remind myself and something that I try to pull on frequently.
Great answers, everyone, and great answer, Ethan. We're going to get into some of the things you're involved in a little later, but you gave us a great transition to the next question, which is what surprised you the most when you transitioned from high school to college? That early time, maybe think back to your first quarter or your first year in general. What surprised you the most about moving on from high school to college?
Uh, I guess I can take this one.
Yeah.
I think honestly, a number of things, but I think the thing that feels most pertinent in this discussion is the depth of community. I went to a high school that was very rural, very I just didn't quite fit into a lot of the people that I went to high school with. And there's value in that. But when I came to the University of Denver, um, there are sometimes surface level connections, but there are also people really looking to make lifelong friends, the people that will, support you through every decision you make for the next, hopefully 20, 30, 50 years. And I think that I've really found some of that here. And while that is less of an institutional thing and more of a personal thing, I think that really surprised me.
I think something that I would say that still kind of surprises me is that people just have different thresholds for things, even if they're the same thing. Like if you're in the same class or um, experiencing the same thing in like your department. I'm in a pretty small department, so we kind of all know what's going on. And people had different experiences in their hometowns and in their high schools. And people just have different thresholds for things, and you have to get used to working and meshing with a lot of different people. And like obviously that's just life. But I think you really do have like a stark transition to it when you come to college, which is good.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna move on to the next question unless you're very passionate, Aya. Am I good to proceed? Okay, thank you. Now, this question, I know a lot of students are probably wondering, how did you make your friends in college, especially if you came from somewhere a little further away? So I'm gonna send this to Aya first. Why don't you tell us what it was like finding friends, and maybe you have a specific story about a friend you're very close to, maybe something that's a little humorous, or surprising. I'll pass it to you.
Yeah, so as I said, I am from the Denver metro area. So I had a couple of folks follow in from high school, but surprisingly, my community, my closest friends ranged outside of that. I think that well, first of all, the biggest thing that helped me find my people in college, it's not the people you meet at orientation. Straight up, you're gonna make a group of friends your first week during orientation. You're never gonna see them again, in my opinion. But I think PLP joining this program really built a community for me and finding folks that were interested in the same things. I have a friend who was also an Arab American student like me, and we realized there wasn't a big community of Arabs on campus, and we kind of wanted to find our people and find representation on campus. So we just made a club called the Middle Eastern Student Association, and we were able to find folks on campus who were actually Arab, find our community through that, and build friends. So if you don't think you have a community, just make a club and you'll find it. I think that's kind of how I found my closest friend on campus was just calling out until someone showed up.
Yeah, I would say outreach is kind of a big thing. I also just recently went abroad and it kind of also felt like redoing the start of college. So I feel like I just got like a revamped version of that in the fall. Um, but I would say obviously it's important to like try and join things and be involved in clubs, but also kind of like Aya said, like reach out to people. Like if you do make friends or if you like have a class with somebody that you think you would mesh well with, like kind of be a little bit forward about it and be like, I'd love to hang out, or, kind of keep them on your radar. It sounds like weird, but you lose track of people really quickly, especially when everybody's like trying to find their place and their people, and just like being forward and knowing like yourself and knowing who you think you might mesh well with, and just taking that chance is something that I think is more likely to go right than wrong usually.
Yeah, I think, I mean, both Aya and Rihanna made great points. I think to keep it succinct, just ask people to coffee or tea or to chat after class for 5 seconds, or try to find that community, like try to find that club that you're going to fit into, because chances are it exists or people will want to hang out with you. People are way friendlier than you think they're going to be.
Thank you, Ethan. A follow-up to that as well, because maybe something that students in high school aren't thinking about, but have any of you made meaningful friendships with professors or staff on campus? Are there people who, are or grad students? Does anybody have friends in any of those categories?
I would say I'm pretty, I don't know. I would like to consider that I'm like pretty good friends with some of my professors. Maybe they wouldn't like that. Maybe that's like maybe after I graduate next year. But um yeah, I think also it comes from being at a smaller school, and in some smaller departments. It makes it easier to just like know your people. I've had some TAs that are grad students or PhD candidates that I've really enjoyed kind of letting the authority line not blur, but like having them as friends as well as people that are teaching me and I'm learning from as well. So yeah, that's been fun as well.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. I actually really echo that. I'm also part of the honors program here at DU, and one of the benefits of the honors program that is advertised as much as it should be is that you get smaller class sizes, and within those smaller classes, you are able to build a better and stronger connection with your professors as compared to like those lecture halls with 90 to 100 students in them. But outside of professors, being the president, or just being in clubs in general, you do a lot of collaboration with different graduate students on campus, and you invite them to your meetings, and you are able to build those connections with those external factors. So I think that's a really valuable aspect that I really appreciate with being in clubs.
Ethan, did you have anything to add or?
As Ontario knows, I am a frequenter of the leadership program office, and I mean, I view my professors and the people that work in that program as my friends, like truly, and they've helped me get through some tough times and also celebrated some wins with me. So, yes, absolutely, all of the above.
Thank you. You all have such brilliant answers. And so I have a tough question for you now, and feel free to build off of each other. I'm gonna bring this question to Rihanna first. Is if you had a time machine, imagine you go back now with everything you know, and you go talk to your self during your first year at whatever point makes the most sense to you. What would you tell yourself during your first year of college? What's one piece of advice you would give yourself?
I would maybe not even advice. I think I would just offer some encouragement and tell myself too that you're on the right path, that you need to probably relax a little bit because it's probably not as serious as I was making it out to be, whatever it was. And that it's better I was doing the right thing by trying everything and dipping my toes and yeah, it might maybe was a little bit overwhelming at first, but you can like things get weeded out and everything like settles how it's supposed to. So just I think I would just reassure myself that like I know myself best and to trust the path that I was on because it's led me to good places. So I think I would just offer some reassurance.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I'll quickly pass it to Aya, but nobody has it figured out. You are on the right path. Your professors don't have life figured out. None of the other students do. We're all just doing our best, and you're doing amazing. Just keep doing what you're doing and trying hard every day, and you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, I literally have nothing to add. Reassurance is like the biggest thing freshman me could have used. It is terrifying going from something you've known from, K through 12 going into this big new thing, especially if you're going to a larger school. It's intimidating. You'll be okay. You'll find yourself within the process, I think.
Thank you so much for that. And building off of that, can you all talk about some resources that you've tapped into since you've been at college? I know a lot of the times things go smooth, but sometimes there are small challenges, right? And sometimes you do need help with those. And so let's go to Aya first. Are there any resources you've used on campus, any staff or any offices you've gone to, maybe for advice, maybe for scheduling, or maybe just for help with some homework? What do you think?
Honestly, my major advisor has been the biggest help to me. Because I'm a double major, double minor. I have a lot of courses on my plate, a lot of degrees to fulfill, and kind of always getting my next quarter planned out weeks in advance has been the best thing for me. So going to my major advisor has been really helpful. Outside of that, though, honestly, I want to say going to programs you're a part of, like the PLP program, I know the faculty there are really amazing, and they're there to support you both emotionally with any classes that you have, any questions you have regarding your journey at DU. So really, outside of that, also just taking care of your body and your mind. At DU, we have the Health Counseling Center, which has been a really great resource for folks that are just not feeling great or burnt out, stressed. They have really great resources to protect students' mental health. So accessing those has really helped me better myself at college, become more independent with my resource and utilization of them. I think is the best way to go about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I will echo all of that. Also, something that I was told in high school that I have tried to do while at college is to go to your professor's office hours. Your professors are people too. They want to talk to you, they want to get to know you. And chances are they can introduce you to someone really cool or someone that can help you with a career question. Your professors are resources and they're great people. So.
Anything to add, Rihanna?
No, I think those are all great answers, and I would just agree with them.
Thank you. Now, I think this might be the most exciting section of the panel discussion. And that is turning to the things that you all do outside of the classroom. As you said, Ethan, you're all humans. Everybody has interests and has things that bring them joy. So I'll start with you, Ethan. In your time at DU, what are some extracurriculars, activities, just things outside of academics that have brought you joy and that have contributed to you finding your community or maybe building community?
Yeah, so first I'll start with one of the main reasons that I stayed in Colorado is because I simply love the mountains. And so I find myself in the mountains most weekends. That's a good it's a good help for me. And there are multiple clubs at a lot of universities, but specifically here at DU that are outdoor focused. And I'm not specifically involved in one, but I've taken trips with a few, and those have all been great. I am also involved with our undergraduate student government, which has helped me find many of the people that I really like to connect with and people that I'm friends with both in and out of student government. We interface with the administration, which is a really interesting challenge sometimes, but also very good and has brought me a lot of joy and taught me how to work on really tough projects and do it with amazing people. Um, yeah. Um, Aya, what are you, other than, um, I mean, you mentioned you're the president, but what are you involved in outside of the classroom?
Yeah, outside of the classroom, I do a couple of things. As I mentioned earlier, I'm the president of the Middle Eastern Student Association on campus, which is just a great program for any Middle Eastern person, any person not in the Middle East and just interested in learning more about its history and culture, which I really appreciate. Outside of that, I'm also a member of our Muslim Student Association on campus, which just helps, get in touch with a more personal side of me. As well as I'm also a part of the executive branch of the undergraduate student here at DU, which really helps build my logistical planning skills, thinking, really connecting with other leaders on campus, which I really, really appreciate. But all of those things really, I think, feed a different part of my identity each. So it kind of makes me more well-rounded person and really helps me keep me grounded a lot of the time, which I really appreciate.
Oh, well, I'm not involved in any governmental governing bodies. But um I have a lot of friends who are. So, I'm part of our e-board for CWC, which is the Colorado Women's College, which is the other sector of our leadership program, which is the leadership program I'm part of. I'm part of that. I'm also in the DU Backstage group, which is we do like local and on-campus theater and arts events, trying just to support the arts and bring them to the forefront of people's minds. And I'm also a Thrive peer educator on campus. So the peer educators work through the Health and Counseling Center. We're students and we do a lot of student to student workshops, programming on a variety of different health and counseling topics. And that's been probably my favorite thing that I do on campus. I also work for the honors program, but that's a little more like logistical. But yeah, as a peer educator, I get to interact with all of the incoming freshmen and transfers when they get here in the fall and throughout the year, obviously. But it's a really great way to meet people, especially now that I've become an upperclassman and don't see as many um, younger than me students. So that's something I've really enjoyed. And just back to the resource question, like it's helped me been able to share a lot of the resources that we have on campus with other students as well. So.
Okay, thank you everyone for sharing. Okay, this you might consider this a part two to that question. I know you're all involved in things on campus, but also what are some things you personally enjoy? Do any of you have hobbies? Ethan, I know you said the mountains, but what in the mountains? What about the mountains? Maybe some of you are also amateur artists in some way, right? So, what are some things that you do that are personal to you that are just kind of activities that you do for fun as well that aren't necessarily an organization?
Yeah, I'll definitely let Rihanna answer about the arts. That is not, I I can watercolor like a leaf, and that is about it. Um, But yes, I'm frequently in the mountains. I like to snowboard and hike. I've climbed most of Colorado's tallest mountains, so that's really, and it's an awesome challenge. Um, and when I'm not doing that, we've got a lot of wonderful parks here in Denver. So you can find me reading a book in one of the parks, or just hanging out on the campus green or in a coffee shop. We've got some good coffee shops around here, and I love a good coffee shop. So yeah, those are kind of my main things. But yeah, Rihanna, I'll let you speak to the arts.
Yeah, I do them professionally, but also I do them as hobbies as well. Um, Mostly performance-based stuff. But one of my favorite things that I actually do the most is I really love to read. If any of my roommates were out here, they would all be rolling their eyes in unison. I love to read. I'm a big book nerd. That's usually all I'm doing if I'm not doing schoolwork or if I'm not at my job. Um, or like that I don't really watch TVs. I don't really like TV shows. I am not up to speed on like movies, which I really should be as an arts person. But I love to read, so I'll usually be somewhere reading a book. So yeah, that's what I'm usually up to, which is not super exciting, but that's me.
Yeah, I think I do a good mix of actually the both of you. I enjoy mountain biking. I love going up to the mountains and getting a good bike in. But I'm an avid book reader. I love a good drama. And I think I'm actually surprisingly I'm also really into TV shows. You will catch me on a Friday night binging a good Netflix series. I'm so sorry. But I think the biggest part about me is that I love collecting vinyls and that I love going to concerts. I think I've been to over 30 concerts at this point, and my vinyl collection has been passed out generations. So I really enjoy both of those things outside of school.
Thank you. I learned a couple new things about you all, which is wonderful. I appreciate you sharing. Our next question, I know that there are students who might see this who are taking 6 or 7 classes in high school, right? Might be taking 4 AP classes, taking honors classes, and what they might be asking is how, as a college student, do you balance your life? Is the only thing you do homework? Do you have time to spend with friends? Tell us a little bit about how you balance your life in college, and maybe you can share one piece of advice for high school students who are coming to college.
I'm actually gonna jump on this one really quick. Um, I feel like I have done kind of not a traditional thing, which is I have kind of continued to take the same amount of classes that I did in high school, now in college, which is like maybe not what I'm recommending by any means, unless you're like really passionate about that. It is a lot to handle. But I think the biggest thing that I've learned over the past 3 years is that it's it's really possible to be balanced, and you don't just have to sit and do schoolwork, especially if you're taking really difficult classes and stuff like that. But I think a lot of it comes down to discipline, and just being able to kind of force yourself to be like, okay, no, I need to get this done. And I know that if I get this done, I have a whole world ahead of me and a whole day ahead of me. But I think it gets the your life opens up a little bit more, and you're not just expected to be in high school. You have other responsibilities and other freedoms, and being able to regulate yourself to finish your work and do your responsibilities so that you can have the fun time, I think is really important, but really doable if you commit to it. And it's a skill you learn. I'm not perfectly there yet, but I'm working on it. So
I really I try to pack the majority of my work, meetings, coffee dates with people all into my Monday through Thursday, do my assignments for Monday and Tuesday on Friday, and then allow myself to have the weekend. Setting aside the weekend as just personal time has been a huge thing for my mental health. And while sometimes packing things into your week and not spacing them out over the weekend can make you have a I had a 6 to 11 p.m. Tuesday the other day with like basically no break, and that was a lot, but it also allows you to hit Saturday and say, okay, I've got nothing to do, and that's amazing.
Yeah, and I can hop on this super duper quick. I think so. It's kind of interesting. For high school, I went to a school with the trimester system, and DU is really similar in that sense, where primarily the most of your classes are taken in the autumn, winter, and spring. So it was a really similar system, and it's really intimidating if you come from a semester school because that's a lot of stuff packed into 10 quick weeks. But honestly, managing your schedule and making sure you have breaks throughout the day, you have time for yourself on weekends is the biggest thing you can do for your schedule. It's the biggest piece of advice I can give regarding that.
Okay, thank you so much. So I'm gonna ask a quick question, kind of a follow-up. But have any of you ever joined something on campus, or maybe you started to get involved with something and you either realized it wasn't for you or you realized you just don't have enough time in the day to do that? Have you gone through that and how did you navigate it?
Yeah, I can help on this one real quick. But so originally when I first came to DU, I'm pre-law. So obviously I joined the Mock Trial Society here at DU. And after a couple of meetings, like trying out, I realized I'm so extremely, extremely interested in law. I'm not being part of the mock trial team doesn't make me less interested in law. But I just realized it wasn't the right fit for me because it just wasn't the type of law I wanted to do. It wasn't the courtroom that I was looking for, but it was still an amazing group of people that I'm still in contact with. But I realized it would be best for me to work on my law aspirations outside of that group of people.
Yeah, I had something similar. I don't know, this surprises people sometimes, but when I first came to DU, I was interested in joining Greek life. I had like a really close group of friends in high school just because of my high school was so small that I was kind of looking for that when I got to DU. And just with the department that I'm in, theater is a lot of nighttime rehearsals, and you're kind of at the beck and call of whatever you're doing. And it just didn't match well with a schedule of rushing and being in a sorority. And I just realized that that wasn't going to work. But I met a bunch of people that some of my best friends I met actually during those first couple weeks of rushing and being in Greek life. Um, and it didn't work out, but I still kind of reaped the benefits of it because I still have a bunch of friends. And yeah, so it like what happened with Aya, like it didn't work out, but you can still make connections and pursue your own passions in a different way.
Go ahead, Ontario, you're good.
I was just gonna ask if you have anything you want to share on that.
I Not super specific. I don't have one specific example. I have definitely gone to one, two, three meetings of different clubs that I was like semi interested in, and kind of realized that I wasn't particularly interested in those clubs, but I never formally joined something. However, I will actually say, to Rihanna's point, I came into school very anti-Greek life and have actually grown um, more fond of Greek life. And now many of my friends are in Greek life. And I think it's easy to come into a situation with assumptions about the way that people are going to be in a club or an organization. And it's really great to expose yourself to those organizations and realize that your preconceived notions were not quite correct.
Thank you for that. Kind of along the same lines, right, of balance, of activity, social life, and academics, I want to ask if any of you have worked during your time in college and tell us about if it's possible to, can you balance working a job and going to school? Because maybe there's some folks who have concerns that that's just impossible. And so, maybe you all can share some roles that you've had and how working goes along with being in school.
Yeah, I'd love to take this question. So I'm currently working two jobs while also participating in all of my extracurriculars in campus. And it sounds like a lot, and people give me a look when I tell them what I'm doing, and they kind of get scared for me. But it is manageable. You can do it. I think the biggest benefit to having work study is that my student life and my work life are literally intertwined. And so it's a big benefit for me. And then outside of working as a student employee with the PLP program, I'm also a youth mentor for a nonprofit in Colorado. And that position is virtual, it's asynchronous. I'm there to support, but there's a few times where I need to be in the office actually working. So finding opportunities where you have that virtual flexibility has been really beneficial, balancing work-life balance as a student employee. So it is doable. It's scary, but it's doable.
Yeah, I had an internship this past spring. Um, and so I would work everything during, or I would go to school during the day, work the internship in the evenings, and then carve out an extra slot of time on Thursdays to do the internship. And it was intimidating at first, but kind of like when you come into college, once you spend a couple weeks in that new schedule and you kind of make tweaks here and there, it all ends up working out. And something I was going to mention earlier is college also teaches you the power of saying no. So if you reach a point where you're finding yourself involved in too many things or you can't attend to this meeting and also go to work, it's okay to recognize which one you need to do or want to do more and prioritize that.
Anything to add, Rihanna? Are you good on this question?
Yeah, no, I'm good. I work off campus as well as on campus. I also think it's important to point out that some people have to work to help support themselves in school. And sometimes, I think Ethan brings up a good point. You have to learn to say no to some things in order to make sure you can pay rent or have groceries, or just help out with school. And so I think, yeah, learning to balance that and just take care of yourself if you are working in any capacity is important and a skill that you also pick up along the way.
Thank you so much. You all are excellent. And now, before we wrap up, I want to move to hopefully all of ours favorite topic, which is leadership, being that you are all in leadership studies, right? Let's start with Ethan, but tell us some of the ways that you've been an advocate or been in leadership roles on campus.
Yeah, so the leadership program, as displayed right here, has been a wonderful piece of my time here at DU. It's where I've found much of my community. And that community has lent itself to other communities, most notably the undergraduate student government. And I have served as the senator um, of my College of Business for the undergraduate student government, and also have been a TA for students in the leadership program. So those are just a couple examples of leadership roles that I've had on campus, and they've both been extremely valuable to me.
I can go. I've had kind of similar to Ethan, various leadership roles around campus. One of my most recent acquisition of titles, I guess, is like I mentioned, I was abroad in the fall through the university, and when I was abroad, I was of student blogger for our Office of International Education. And through that position, I have partnered with our study abroad office as well as the program that I went abroad with that partners with TU. And I've become a global ambassador, study abroad campus ambassador. There's like titles and whatever on campus to talk to other students who are interested about going abroad or have questions or trying to figure out their programs and making it work with their departments and balancing majors and whatnot. And that's something that I'm kind of stepping into this quarter and we'll really get rolling on in the spring. But just something that I'm excited about and that I think the leadership programs at DU have taught me really well because I'll be kind of working with a lot of different groups and a lot of offices and have some of my own independence as well. So, yeah, that's something new on campus that I'm looking forward to doing.
I think with my on-campus leadership roles, kind of being both a leader in the student government has taught me a lot about just facilitating different event organizing and being the president of MESA and even just a member of MESA. There's a lot of leadership that it takes to kind of be comfortable in your own identity and be proud to represent yourself. So just existing as a student on campus has been a form of leadership for me, and being in PLP has obviously been a form of leadership, expanding my knowledge in leadership theory has been a really big part of just my campus journey of leadership and how I present as a almost as an activist on campus in certain groups. So I think that's very, very important to see. Yeah, I think I lost the plot there, but leadership is a big part of who I am on campus.
Thank you. That's all awesome. And I know you all are super involved. Kind of leading into this question, this next question, right? We know that leadership isn't necessarily having a title, right? Or having an official role, kind of along the same lines of, that statement that you don't have to have a title to be a leader, right? What is some advice you have for students who want to make an impact on the community at their college and maybe the surrounding community and even going back to their home community with what they learn in college? What are some tips you have about leadership and advocacy?
I would just say trust that other people that you're surrounding yourself with, once you've like found a community, trust that the other people in that community have good intentions. That's kind of hard to do in a very individualized world that we're living in. But I would say I'm kind of going back to that, like you don't have to be the leader of everything. You don't have to be in charge, but trust that the people that you've chosen to align yourself with have good core interests and values at heart, and see what you can do from there. Just trust the people around you.
I think the biggest thing you can do for yourself is trust yourself, and trusting yourself is a form of leadership. The leadership is in literally everything that you do. And to be a leader outside of any formal titles, you just have to find your people and find a way to make yourself and others comfortable with what you're doing.
Yeah, just really quickly to go off both of those great points. Being an empathetic listener with those people that you surround yourself with, you can be that when you're really listening and really understanding um, problems on campus. You can be that tiny point of connection that propels massive change. And it may not feel like it, but you absolutely can be. And so just empathetically listening to the people that you're around.
Oh, thank you. Such great quality answers, and so happy to be here with you all. This is our last question for the panel today, and that question is related to the future. So we started with way back when you were in high school, applying and considering college, right? And now that you're in college, right? What is next for you? How do you think you'll learn, or how do you think you'll use some of what you've learned and what you've gained in experiences related to leadership? How will you use those in the next step of your life? And it's okay if you don't know what you're doing next, but how do you think your experiences so far in college will inform that?
I've been answering this question a lot interviewing for internships recently. So, um, I think one thing I'm gonna really be focusing on is the arts, specifically theater and live theater, are a predominantly white cisgender space, even though many people tend to not think of them like that. But they are, especially in a place like Denver. And something that I have learned through my leadership studies, specifically at DU, is how to be a vessel for change in the way that I can listen and learn and help amplify voices that might not be as forthcoming in the art spaces and just help the voices that are important and that are maybe not always recognized in whatever I do and just try to uplift every part of our community is my plan in whatever I do.
Yeah, I'm planning to work in the financial advisory space, and famously, the ethics page in finance is blank. And also, finance can often sometimes underserve the communities that need financial assistance the most. And so, bringing ethics and strong leadership qualities to the financial space is really something that I'm looking forward to and very excited about.
Yeah, post undergrad, I really hope to go, as I mentioned earlier, I really hope to go into law school and achieve a master's kind of in just humanitarian law, get into that field, do some pro bono work with folks that need representation in different courts is really what I aspire to do, post undergrad.
Thank you all so much. Thank you, Ethan, Rihanna, and Aya, for sharing your time and your experiences with us and being the panel today. I appreciate you, and I wish you all nothing but the best as your leadership skills develop and as you develop as young academics and people in general. So, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.